Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what it takes to start a business in Washington state. Look, it can feel like a dense forest of rules and regulations, but we're going to turn all that complexity into a clear, actionable map for you.
Starting a business is a massive adventure, right? But the journey in Washington has some really unique twists and turns. We're talking about a one-of-a-kind tax system and some of the strongest pro-employee laws in the entire country. You definitely want to know what you're getting into before you start.
So try not to think of this as just a bunch of boring paperwork. This is your quest guide. These are the essential first steps that lay the groundwork for everything that comes next. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's our game plan. We've broken this down into 6 key stages. We're going to talk about forging your legal shield, claiming your business name, conquering the tax maze, hiring your first teammate, building a safe workplace, and then we'll look at the path forward. First things first, on any adventure, you gotta protect yourself. For an entrepreneur, that means picking the right legal structure. And in Washington, the Limited Liability Company, or LLC, is hands down the most popular choice. And for a really good reason. The whole magic of an LLC comes down to this one idea: limited liability. It basically builds a legal wall, people call it a corporate veil, that separates your business life from your personal life. So if the business gets sued or goes into debt, your house, your car, your personal savings, they're safe. And you can really see the difference here. If you're a sole proprietor, there's no separation. You are the business, legally speaking. So if something goes wrong, all your personal stuff is on the line. An LLC, on the other hand, creates that formal legal separation. It's a crucial shield. So how do you actually do it? Well, Washington has this kind of quirky 2-step process. First, you file what's called a certificate of formation. That creates the LLC. Then you've got 120 days to file an initial report. But here's the pro tip. Just do them both at the same time online. The state actually waives the $10 fee for the report, and you save yourself a future deadline. You gotta love a simple trick that saves you money and a headache, right? All right, your legal shield is up. Now for the fun part, picking a name. Every hero needs a name, right? Well, in Washington, your business can actually have 2 of them, a legal name and a trade name. And you've got to understand that they are governed by totally different rules. So first, you have your legal name. Think of this as your business's official government-facing name. It's the one that goes on all the contracts and tax forms, and it always has to have that LLC at the end. And then you've got your trade name. You might have heard this called a DBA, for doing business as. This is your brand. It's your public-facing name, what your customers will actually call you. And the cool part is, you can have a bunch of different trade names all operating under one single LLC. This chart really lays it all out. Your legal name is with the Secretary of State, your trade name with the Department of Revenue, 2 different agencies for 2 different things. But here is the kicker, and you have to pay attention to this. Look at that last row. If you operate under a trade name, but you forget to register it, you are legally blocked from filing a lawsuit in Washington. That is a huge deal. It's a simple step, but you absolutely cannot skip it. Okay, deep breath. We are now entering the Washington tax maze. And to get through it, you have to understand the local rules. The biggest and most unique one is the business and occupation tax. Everyone just calls it the B&O tax. Now listen closely, because this is where a lot of people get tripped up. This is not an income tax. It has nothing to do with your profits. It's a tax on your gross revenue, every single dollar that comes into your business before you deduct any of your expenses. I'm going to say it again. It's a tax on your revenue, not your profit. This quote just nails it. Think about it this way. Let's say you have a fantastic year and you bring in $500,000 in revenue. Awesome. But maybe your expenses, your payroll, your rent, your materials were $495,000. So you only actually profited $5,000. Guess what? You still owe B&O tax on the full $500,000. It's a tough concept to wrap your head around at first. So what kind of number are we talking about? Well, for most service businesses, the rate starts at 1.5%. The key here, the absolute key, is that you have to build this cost into your pricing from day one. This isn't an afterthought. It's a direct cost of doing business, just like your software subscriptions or your office rent. All right, every quest needs allies. But when you hire your very first employee in Washington, well, that unlocks a whole new level of the game. The state's rules on wages, leave, and discrimination are consistently, and I mean consistently, stricter than federal law. I mean, just take a look at this. The federal minimum wage? Forget about it. In Washington, it's more than double that. and it goes up every single year with inflation. Federal anti-discrimination laws, they usually kick in when you have 15 employees. Here, it's often as low as 8. And paid leave? The main federal law offers unpaid leave. In Washington, we have a mandatory state-run paid leave program. It's just a completely different landscape. And it doesn't stop there. Washington has some really specific rules about pay transparency that you have to know. Rule number 1, you cannot ask a job applicant how much money they made at their last job. It's banned, period. Rule number 2, if you have 15 or more employees, you must include the salary range right in the job posting itself. You've got to know this stuff before you even think about hitting publish. So once you have a team, you have a fundamental duty to protect them. And in Washington, this isn't something you just figure out on your own. The state is very, very involved in both workplace safety and the insurance that covers injuries. You're going to hear the acronym WISHA a lot. That's the Washington Industrial Safety and Health Act. And it's basically the state's version of OSHA, but kind of on steroids. Its core idea is something called the General Duty Clause, which is a fancy way of saying that it is your legal responsibility to provide a safe workplace. Oh, and you also need a formal written safety plan to prove you're doing it. Okay, this is another huge Washington is different moment. When it comes to workers' compensation, that's the insurance that covers your employees if they get hurt on the job, you have no choice of who you buy it from. None. Washington is a monopolistic state, which means you can't shop around for private insurance. You must buy your coverage from the state through the Department of Labor and Industries, and the rates you pay are tied directly to how safe your workplace is. Whew, okay, we have covered a lot of ground. We've navigated some pretty tricky territory together. So before we wrap this up, let's just pause and boil it all down to the 3 most important landmarks you have to remember about doing business in Washington. Okay, here they are. Number 1, the B&O tax is on your revenue, not your profit. You have to plan for it as a direct cost. Number 2, state employment laws are almost always stricter than federal laws, so just always default to Washington's higher standard. And number 3, key insurance like workers' comp and paid leave are state-controlled. You don't have a choice. You have to go through their programs. If you can really internalize these 3 things, you are way ahead of the game. Look, all this legal stuff, the rules, the regulations, it's just the foundation. It's the sturdy, maybe a little boring, but absolutely necessary stuff that lets you get to the real adventure. It's what lets you build your vision. So now you have the map. The path is clear. The real question is, what are you going to build?